Should you be buying a home now or continuing to rent? For many people, they believe that owning a home will enhance their lifestyle and also increase their personal net worth. This can be the case, but being ready for homeownership is critical in order to achieve some of these life goals. In this video, I'm going to point out the pros and cons for buying a home. And if you are considering buying a home within the next 12 months, I'm going to provide you a checklist so that you know if you're ready. So let's get ready as we unpack important information throughout this video. My goal here is to help you make a better home buying decision so that homeownership, if you decide to buy a home, is a very rewarding, positive experience. Now, the housing market is currently going through a historic downturn where for the first time in more than a decade, we're actually seeing home prices drop in the double-digit percentages. This is a huge change coming off the most historical year-over-year price appreciation ever seen before. Now the market has drastically cooled off from home buyers engaging in bidding wars and in many cases overpaying for their homes, as well as neglecting to get home inspections. And now they're realizing their home needs a lot of repairs that sellers didn't make, and it's putting them even further in debt. So if you haven't bought a home yet, consider yourself lucky. The home prices are currently crashing, so this is good news for you. Now, I know there are many experts that are claiming that house prices never go down. In fact, many are saying that we're not even in a bubble or a market crash currently. But I do want to take a minute and explain to you how home prices do fluctuate through the years, and I believe that now is an opportunity for you to save money if you're planning on buying a home within the next 12 months. So as you can see in this Fred chart linked below, that median home prices sold in the United States have fluctuated through the years. Now, I do want to point out that in the fourth quarter of 2017, median home sale prices was at an all-time high of $337,900. But less than 2 years later, by the first quarter of 2019, median prices dropped $24,900, which is about 7.4% decline to a price of $313,000. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if one of the goals for you buying a home is to improve your net worth, then you'd have to agree with me that in order to maximize your personal wealth, you'd want to buy low and sell high. This is important for you to consider when buying a home because you're about to take advantage of what I believe will be one of the most major home price declines we've ever seen. We also know, as you can see on the chart, that despite any downturn, even now, home prices do increase throughout the history of time. If you would have purchased a home just 10 years ago, the average median home price was about $250,000. If you sold it today, it would be worth about $200,000 more or $450,000. That's an annual increase in personal wealth of about $20,000 per year over the last 10 years. Plus, if you made any improvements along the way, like a kitchen or bath renovation, these improvements may have brought you even more equity in your home. Another benefit of buying a home is the stabilization of your monthly expenses. When you buy a home, for the most part, your monthly payment stays about the same. That is, as long as you select a 30-year fixed rate mortgage as opposed to some of the variable adjusted rate mortgages that you can find today. Through the years, your annual property taxes and your homeowner's insurance will increase, but nowhere like the recent increase we've experienced in rental rates in the last 12 months. Now, according to this article that I found on rent.com, the national rent prices have increased more than 25% in the last 12 months. With the stabilization of your monthly housing payment, plus any annual salary increases, so long as you buy a home that's within your financial means, you should be able to pack a few bucks away every single month so that you can afford any necessary home repairs or improvements to your home. It's very exciting to buy a home and to have a place that you can actually own, spending money on the things that enhance your lifestyle and personalize your space. And as long as you continue to pay your monthly mortgage, no one will ever tell you to leave, like the landlord that may throw you out in order to get higher rents than what you're paying. Now, there can be disadvantages to buying a home. One of the big disadvantages is if you need a mortgage in order to buy a home, you're bringing on more debt. Buying a home is a long-term commitment, so here are a few things that you need to consider when you're taking on this long-term debt. You can't just quit your job. Job loss is the number one reason for foreclosure. So if you're considering buying a home, have a conversation with your boss. Tell them you're thinking about buying a house, obviously going into a long-term financial commitment, and ask them if your job is stable. Their response may give you some kind of indication of concern or not. Also, you just can't pack up and move whenever you want, like when you're renting. When you're renting, your lease is over, you just simply move on your way. This is extremely important when you have that annoying neighbor or that barking dog next door. You can easily move to get away from the nuisance. But when you're buying a home, you just can't pack up and move that easily. So everything matters, and most home buyers don't even consider the nuisance neighbor or any other annoying neighborhood factors when they decide to buy their home. Now, if you're not careful, you can also lose money on your home. This is especially the case when you're buying that money pit. This is where any required repairs may not bring you any constructive return if you needed to sell. For example, your house has to have an operating heating and air system and a good roof so that it doesn't rain inside. Adding those things, if needed, are not necessarily something that's going to bring you more value for your home. And if you're forced to sell quickly for whatever reason, and we're in the middle of a downturn like we are right now, you may not be able to sell for the price that you paid for your home. This means it was a bad investment. Also, you can't forget that if you do have to sell your home, there are costs that are associated with selling. For example, if you use a realtor, there are commissions that need to be paid, as well as, depending on where you live, transfer and recordation fees on a county and state level can be very cost prohibitive. Now, there can also be negative impacts to any neighborhood that can change the neighborhood value, your home's value, from time to time, which is why it's important when you're considering to buy a home that you look into any upcoming plans for that area where you're considering to buy. Make certain that any known upcoming neighborhood changes, including changes in zoning, won't negatively impact your home's value. Something as simple as changing a traffic pattern through your neighborhood can affect the desirability and value of your home. Other things to consider are any potential negative changes with employers in the area. Many people experienced that in Detroit, Michigan, when car manufacturing left the area. If you were to buy in Detroit, Michigan in the 1950s, it was one of the richest cities in the United States. However, when automakers like Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler moved their manufacturing from Detroit, the city lost more than 130,000 manufacturing jobs. This actually turned the city of Detroit upside down, and there were decades of negative real estate impact to the area. So despite any widespread economic downturns like we're seeing right now, there are also many other factors that can affect the value of a home in any local market. So research where you want to buy a home and know if there's any negative impacts that could affect that area in the near future before you decide to buy. And here's a big shocker for you guys. You need to make sure that you have a great real estate agent like me. And if you're not looking to buy in Maryland and you do need an agent, I have an amazing broker network throughout the country. Drop me a line. I'll be glad to connect you with somebody in your city. And now for the checklist. Here's my best advice to you if you're ready to buy a home in the near future. Job market stabilization. Is your job stable and secure? Have you been at your job for at least 12 months? Remember, tell your boss that you're considering buying a home. Ask them if your job is stable. Ask them if their job is stable, and judge their response for yourself. Are you ready with your down payment? Are you prepared with the minimum amount down to get a mortgage of at least 3.5% down plus closing costs and at least $5,000 left in the bank when it's all said and done for any emergency funds? Also consider how quickly you can replenish the down payment money that you use to buy your home so that you can even have more of a cushion should you need it. And are you planning on buying a home where you at least stay for the next 5 years? And if you're not prepared to stay for at least 5 years, any expenses of moving, buying your home, and then selling your home may put you in a situation where you sell for less than you've invested. Is your credit good and your other debt manageable? Debt like student loans, car loans, credit card bills. Before you buy a home, get rid of as much monthly debt as possible. You're going to spend a lot of money when you move, so let's minimize the financial stress by paying off those additional bills. And remember, when you buy a home, repairs are now your responsibility, not your landlord. And most importantly, can you comfortably afford the mortgage payment of a home that you absolutely love? Another tip to keep in mind is that moving is a major distraction. So be prepared for the inconvenience of packing and unpacking and additional unexpected costs. It's exhausting, but if you get in the right mindset and you plan properly, moving into the home of your dreams is very rewarding. Well, that wraps us up. So if you found value in this video, you can smash that like button. It will let me know that you do. And as always, I appreciate when you subscribe and hit that alert bell. It lets me know you'll be notified every time I upload content just like this. See you next time.
Sachs Realty, Maryland broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514, equal housing opportunity.